My parents ignored my wedding, but when they saw my $135,000 Porsche, they remembered I existed. The day my parents chose status over their own child. It's amazing how invisible you can be to your own family, until success makes you suddenly shine in their eyes. Before we begin, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss stories like this one. My name is Jason, and if someone had told me 10 years ago that I would walk into my parents' driveway in a brand new $135,000 Porsche. Not to show off. Not to brag. But to expose their hypocrisy. I would have laughed. Because 10 years ago, I still believed they loved me. Back then, I still believed my parents cared about my future, my happiness, my choices. Back then, I thought family meant unconditional support. But that illusion shattered the day they chose to ignore my wedding, all because my bride didn't fit their idea of high class. And the day I showed up in that Porsche? That was the day they regretted every cruel word, every dismissal, every moment of absence. But let's go back to the beginning. The golden childhood that wasn't golden at all. People assume rich-looking families are happy. That a nice house and matching holiday sweaters equal love. But behind my parents' picture-perfect social media facade was a truth they never admitted. They didn't want a son. They wanted a trophy. A high-achieving prize they could show off at dinners, at galas, at charity events. Someone who would bring prestige to their image. Love wasn't unconditional in our home. It was performance-based. If I achieved something, I earned their attention. If I failed at anything, even slightly, I became invisible. My mother often said, "Jason, you must always keep standards. Remember, people judge us by the company we keep." My father's favorite line. Success is the only love language the world respects. I didn't realize it yet, but they weren't just telling me to succeed. They were training me to become their accessory. Meeting the girl they hated on sight. Her name was Bella. Not wealthy. Not from an upper-class family. Not carrying a designer bag or a famous last name. She was warm. Honest. Self-made. Smarter than me in many ways. And she loved me without conditions. She came from a working-class background, growing up with a single mother who worked 2 jobs. She knew struggle. She knew sacrifice. She knew real life. She didn't care about status. She cared about people. And that made her the most threatening thing in the world to my parents. The day I introduced her to them, Mom's smile froze like someone slapped makeup on a statue. Dad didn't shake her hand. He just nodded stiffly. Later that night my mother whispered, "Jason, surely this is a phase?" And my father added, "You can do better. Much better." What they meant was, she isn't rich enough for us to brag about. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet. This story is only warming up. The engagement they pretended didn't happen. When I proposed to Bella, she cried so hard she couldn't even speak for a full minute. When I told my parents, they didn't show up to celebrate. They didn't call. They didn't text. My mother sent a single message. "Congratulations, Jason. But we will not support this decision." My father added, "Marriage should elevate you, not pull you down." Pull me down? To marry a woman who loved me more than they ever had? That was the moment I realized. My parents didn't want what was best for me. They wanted what looked best for them. The wedding they refused to attend. Bella's family? They were over the moon. Her mother cried when she saw the engagement ring. Her siblings hugged me like I'd been in the family all along. But my side of the wedding? Empty. No parents. No relatives. No one. Every seat reserved for my family sat untouched. People whispered. Some guests looked at me with pity. Others with confusion. Bella tried to be strong, but when she saw those empty chairs, she broke. She cried in the dressing room. She thought she ruined my life. She thought she wasn't enough. I held her and said, "You are worth more than every fake smile they ever gave me." And I meant it. We got married without them. And it was still beautiful. But the pain? The betrayal? That stayed. The years we built our own life without them. Bella and I started from nothing. Zero help. Zero support. Zero acknowledgement. We struggled financially. We moved between tiny apartments. We worked overtime, saved, sacrificed, learned. And slowly, we built a life. I launched a business. Bella became a financial analyst. Together, we rose. Every year we climbed another level. Every setback we faced together. Every victory we earned ourselves. No privileged shortcuts. No family money. And you know what? It made us stronger. The success they never saw coming. 7 years into our marriage, my tech company landed a deal worth millions. My first major paycheck? I bought Bella a house. I paid off her mother's debt. I funded her siblings' college. I donated to her old school. I invested in a scholarship in her name. And for myself? One gift. One symbol. One reminder of how far I'd come without my parents. A sleek, metallic black, fully loaded Porsche 911 Carrera Turbo. $135,000 of engineering perfection. When I sat in the driver's seat for the first time, I felt something shift. I had finally earned the respect my parents never gave me. But I didn't need it anymore. The neighbor who exposed everything. One day, Bella and I drove to a shopping district, parked the Porsche, and stepped out. And guess who happened to see us? Mrs. Danvers. My parents' neighbor. The queen of small-town gossip. Her jaw dropped so low it almost hit the pavement. "Jason? Is that your car?" I smiled. "It is." "Oh my God. Your parents have to see this." I shrugged casually. "Oh, we haven't spoken in years." She gasped like I said I drowned puppies. By evening, my parents knew. And everything changed. The call I never expected. My mother called first. Her voice was sugary sweet. The way she speaks to influential people. "Jason, darling. Your father and I were thinking maybe we should all have dinner. It's been so long." Oh, now I was darling. Now I existed. 10 years ignored. My wedding neglected. My marriage dismissed. But a Porsche? A Porsche resurrected their parental instincts. My father texted minutes later. "We're proud of you, son. Let's reconnect." Proud? For 7 years, they didn't even know where I lived. I stared at the phone, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't the one seeking their approval. They were seeking mine. Before we go to part 2, backhand index pointing right, make sure you're subscribed. The revenge is only beginning. The sudden parents who remembered I existed. Some people don't miss you, they miss the version of you they can brag about. Before we begin, make sure you've subscribed so you don't miss the unfolding revenge. The dinner invitation that came too late. When my mother called asking for dinner, her voice was bright, too bright. Fake bright. The kind of brightness my mom only turned on when she wanted something. "Jason, sweetheart, we were thinking maybe we could all sit down together. You, Bella, us." She paused, waiting for enthusiasm. I gave her none. "Oh?" I said casually. "After all these years?" "Well, yes. We've all been busy, life happens, you know how it is." I nearly laughed. Life didn't happen. Choices happened. They're choices. Choices like ignoring my engagement, ignoring my wedding, ignoring my wife, ignoring my entire adulthood. But the moment I owned a six-figure car, suddenly the son they abandoned was worth their time. The first signs of their desperation. 2 hours after my mother's call, my father texted, "We'd love to see the new car. Everyone in the neighborhood says it's stunning." Everyone in the neighborhood. Not, "We are proud of your accomplishments." Not, "We are sorry for not supporting you." Not, "We want to rebuild our relationship." No. What they wanted was a trophy to show off. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe. This story gets better with each part. The dinner that was really an audition. I talked to Bella about the invitation. She looked at me with hesitancy and quiet pain. "Are you sure you want to go?" she asked. "After everything? After they humiliated us?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah. I want to see what they're really after." So we agreed to go. But not as desperate children seeking validation. As adults walking in with full clarity. When we arrived at their house, I parked the Porsche right in the center of their driveway. Like a statement. Like a truth they couldn't ignore. Like a mirror reflecting their values back at them. Mom came rushing out, eyes glued to the car. "Oh my goodness. Jason. It's even more beautiful in person." She ran her hand along the hood. As if greeting the car. Not her son. Dad whistled. "Top of the line, huh? Turbo package?" "Yep," I said flatly. They didn't hug me. They didn't hug Bella. They barely acknowledged either of us. But they circled the Porsche like vultures around gold. And that was when I knew. This wasn't a family dinner. This was a sales pitch. And the product they wanted was me. The fake affection begins. Once inside the house, my mother became the bubbliest person alive. "Oh Bella. You look beautiful. That dress is stunning. Where did you get it?" Bella told her she found it on discount at a small boutique. My mom's smile froze. Just a twitch, barely noticeable. But I saw it. My mother's approval isn't for sale. It's for rent. And she rents it only to people she considers worthy. Dad poured wine. Offered toast. Spoke about how proud he was. All of it performed for the audience he wished he had. The neighbors who might be watching through the windows. Dinner was a blur of. "I always knew you'd be successful, Jason. We were just giving you space. You know how parents worry about their children's choices. You seem to be doing very well now. We're happy for you, truly." The words meant nothing. They were rehearsed. Convenient. Hollow. Bella sat quietly, polite but guarded. I could see the hurt behind her eyes. Every empty seat at our wedding flashed through her memory. Every silence. Every absence. Every disrespect. The real agenda. Halfway through dessert, the masks fell off. My father cleared his throat. "So, Jason, about your company," he started. "Amazing growth this year. Very impressive. Thanks. I was thinking," he continued, "that your mother and I might invest. Support you. You know, be part of your journey." Ah. There it was. I leaned back. "You want to invest?" I repeated. "Yes," Mom jumped in eagerly. "We've always believed in you. We just didn't want to interfere before. But now that you're doing so well." "Now," Dad interjected smoothly, "seems like the perfect time for us to reconnect. As a family." Family. He used that word like it didn't choke. Bella stared at her plate. Her hand trembled slightly. They hadn't come to apologize. Not to reconcile. This was a business opportunity to them. They ignored my wedding, but a Porsche was enough to resurrect their affection. And I wasn't done. "Oh," I said. So that's why you suddenly called? Mom's smile stiffened. Jason, honey, that's not fair. No. I cut in. Because you weren't there when I married the love of my life. You weren't there when we struggled. You weren't there when we built everything from scratch. They stayed silent. But one expensive car. And suddenly your son matters again? My father's jaw tensed. We don't appreciate the tone. And I didn't appreciate those empty chairs at my wedding. Silence. The moment Bella broke down. Bella stood abruptly and walked to the kitchen. Her shoulders shook. I followed her. She wiped her tears quickly. I'm sorry, she whispered. I shouldn't cry. I remembered everything. Jason, they didn't think I was good enough. They made you choose between family and me. I pulled her close. You are my family. She clung to me like she'd been holding back years of hurt. We returned to the table together, and my parents tried to pretend nothing happened. But the truth was sitting between us. They didn't just ignore my wedding. They ignored my happiness. My future. My chosen family. The offer that told me everything. Finally, my father forced a smile and said, let's put the past behind us. From now on, we can be involved. We can make up for lost time. Maybe even help expand your business. We want to be part of your success. There it was. The truth behind their sudden interest. Not love. Not regret. Not family. Access. Connection. Bragging rights. They wanted to benefit from the success they refused to help build. Before we go to the next part. Backhand index pointing right, make sure you've subscribed. Here the tables turn, hard. The look I gave Bella. I glanced at my wife. She nodded softly. It was time to stop pretending. I placed my wine glass down and said, I appreciate the offer. But you don't get to show up after 10 years of absence. And claim a seat at the table I built without you. Mom blinked. Dad stiffened. We didn't exclude you, Mom insisted weakly. You ignored my wedding. I said it slowly. Clearly. Undeniably. And now you want a share of my success. Dad raised his hands defensively. That's not fair, Jason. Neither were those empty chairs. Their faces twisted. They finally realized. I didn't come to reconnect. I came to give them the truth. And I wasn't finished. The confrontation they never saw coming. Sometimes you don't need to raise your voice to make someone feel small. The truth does it for you. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss these revenge stories. The air in the room froze. After I said the words, you ignored my wedding. The room fell into an icy silence. My mother's smile evaporated. My father's jaw tightened. The fake warmth they'd been wearing like a costume began slipping off piece by piece. Because they knew. They knew they had crossed a line years ago. But they were hoping time erased it. They were hoping money healed it. They were hoping success made me forget it. It didn't. Bella sat beside me, fingers gripping mine under the table. Her breathing was shallow. She was reliving every painful moment of that day. My father finally broke the silence. Jason, you can't blame us for being uncomfortable. Her family is different from ours. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was pathetic. My wedding wasn't about her family. It was about me. And you still chose not to show up. My mother folded her arms, defensive and offended. We thought you'd grow out of that relationship, she snapped. You were always meant for more. Bella flinched. I felt rage rise like a tidal wave. For more? I repeated slowly. More than a woman who supported me through every struggle? More than a woman who stood beside me when you refused to? More than someone who loves me unconditionally? Mom scoffed. Love doesn't pay bills, Jason. And neither do parents who disappear, I shot back. The truth they never admitted. My mother took a breath, preparing her usual manipulation. You're twisting things. We didn't disappear. We were giving you space. You know how dramatic young couples can be. I stared at her. Space? Mom, you blocked me on Facebook when I posted my engagement photos. You told relatives I was making a mistake. Dad told his business partners Bella wasn't marriage material. You disowned me. My father had the audacity to look annoyed. You're exaggerating. I leaned forward. You didn't come to my wedding. Silence hit again. This time heavier and uglier. Bella swallowed hard, blinking rapidly to keep the tears from falling. She hated crying in front of them. Mom's lips pursed. We didn't approve of the match. And you thought punishing me would fix that? I asked. Ignoring your son on the most important day of his life? My father straightened. We had a reputation, Jason. People judge. Marriage is a reflection of a family's standards. Ah. There it was. The truth. The ugly truth. They weren't protecting me. They were protecting their image. Before we continue, make sure you're subscribed. It gets even more intense from here. The moment Bella stood up. She had been silent the whole dinner. Enduring. Holding her pain like a quiet flame. But something snapped in her. She stood, eyes shiny but strong. You know, she said softly, I spent months wondering what I'd done wrong. I thought maybe I offended you. Maybe I wasn't polite enough. Maybe I wasn't pretty enough. Maybe my family embarrassed you. My mother blinked rapidly, clearly not expecting Bella to speak. Bella continued. I tried so hard to understand. I tried to be respectful. But then it hit me. You never gave me a chance. Not from the very first moment. She looked right at my mother. You hated me before I even spoke. Not because of who I am, but because of who I'm not. My mother opened her mouth, but Bella held up a hand. Please. Let me finish. Dad frowned, but stayed quiet. You didn't miss the wedding because of distance. You didn't miss it because of scheduling. You missed it because you wanted to punish Jason for loving someone you didn't approve of. Her voice trembled. And the sad thing is, it worked. We spent our first year of marriage hurting. Because of you. My mother looked uncomfortable. Good. She wasn't used to being confronted. Bella finally sat down, breathing deeply. I squeezed her hand. Proud didn't begin to cover it. The rich relative's mirage. My father cleared his throat, desperate to shift the blame. You need to understand something, he said. Our world, our social circle, is competitive. Standards matter. Reputation matters. We couldn't show up looking unprepared. We couldn't. I cut him off. You couldn't stand to be seen with people who weren't wealthy enough. They exchanged guilty glances. My father's silence said everything. The offer that exposed their true intentions. Mom forced a smile again. The fake one, stretched tight like cheap plastic. Let's not dwell on the past, she said. What matters is the future. We can be involved now. We can support your business. We can help elevate you in society. Dad nodded eagerly. Yes. Exactly. Networking, connections, investment. We can open doors you don't even know exist. I almost laughed again. Not because their words were funny. But because they were transparent. They didn't want me back. They wanted what my success could do for them. I leaned back and said, let me get this straight. You want to be part of my business now? Mom nodded quickly. Of course. We're family. I stared at her. You abandoned your family. The moment I stood up. I pushed my chair back and rose to my feet. Bella did too. My parents looked startled. Dinner's over, I said calmly. Mom blinked. What? Jason, we haven't. We're done here. Dad's expression hardened. You're making a mistake. I chuckled. You said that at my wedding. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the Porsche key fob. Pressed the button so the headlights flashed through their dining room window. Both of them turned toward the light like moths. Then I dropped the key fob onto the table with a loud clack. They jumped. That car, I said slowly, was built on hard work. Dedication. Sacrifice. I leaned in. And not a single part of it came from either of you. Mom swallowed. Dad stared. And guess what? I added. I don't need your money. I don't need your status. I don't need your approval. I picked up the keys again. Slowly. Deliberately. You ignored my wedding. Now I'm ignoring your greed. The final stab, my father's voice cracks. As Bella and I walked toward the door, my father spoke. Not arrogantly. Not angrily. But softly, almost trembling. Jason, please don't go. It was the first genuine thing he'd said all night. I turned. He looked smaller. Older. Like a man watching the last bridge burn. You can't walk away, he whispered. We're your parents. I shook my head. You were my parents. Past tense. My mother gasped. Dad's shoulders slumped. I opened the door. Bella stepped out into the night air. Then I gave them the final truth. You lost me the day you didn't show up. You remembered me the day you saw the Porsche. And you'll forget me again when there's no benefit. I stepped outside. And that's why we're done. The door closed behind us. We walked toward our car. My parents watched through the window. The son they ignored. The daughter-in-law they rejected. The life they could have been part of. All driving away in $135,000 worth of consequences. When they realized they lost control. People who treat you like an option will panic the moment they realize you've stopped choosing them entirely. Before we begin, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss the next twists. The night after the confrontation. The drive home was silent, but not heavy. Not painful. It was peaceful. Bella rested her head against the window, eyes half closed, letting the streetlights flicker across her face. You okay? I asked softly. She nodded. I'm proud of you, she whispered. For finally saying everything they needed to hear. I reached over and squeezed her hand. That night, we didn't fall asleep thinking about my parents' rejection. We fell asleep thinking about our freedom. But my parents? They didn't sleep at all. Because for the first time in their perfectly curated lives, they weren't in control. The panicked call the next morning. At 7:14 a.m., my phone vibrated aggressively. Mom. Then Dad. Then Mom again. 3 missed calls. Then their texts. Jason, please call us back. We think you misunderstood our intentions. We just want to talk. We love you. Love? Now? Convenient love is not love. I ignored every message. Bella watched as I placed the phone face down. You're not going to answer? Nope. She smiled. Relieved. Proud. Safe. My parents weren't expecting silence. Because silence is power. And for the first time, I held it. The neighborhood whispers begin. By noon, I received a text from an old childhood friend, Mark. Dude, something happened between your parents and you? Mrs. Danvers said your mom was crying in the yard. I didn't reply. Because I knew exactly what was happening. My parents cared about their reputation more than anything. And last night, their reputation cracked. They weren't crying out of love. They were crying because losing me meant losing. Bragging rights. Business leverage. Social prestige. The successful son narrative. Future opportunities. A shiny ornament for their social circles. And worst of all, people noticed. Nothing terrifies image-obsessed parents like public embarrassment. The lie they tried to spread. At around 4 p.m., Bella's phone buzzed. It was her friend, Lisa. Your mother-in-law posted something weird on Facebook. You might want to check. Bella opened the app, scrolled, and gasped. She handed me the phone. There it was. My mother's public post. Families go through misunderstandings, but a parent's love never fades. We gave Jason space to grow into the successful man he is today. Hopefully he will remember the sacrifices we made for him. Sacrifices? What sacrifices? Ignoring my engagement? Skipping my wedding? Blocking me on social media? Pretending I didn't exist for years? Bella's hands shook. They're trying to rewrite the story, she whispered. Of course they were. Because their greatest fear wasn't losing me. It was losing the version of me they showed off at golf clubs and charity dinners. Before we continue, make sure you're subscribed for part 5. The public truth comes out soon. The family member who exposed them. 2 hours after the Facebook post, my aunt, dad's sister, called me. She never liked my parents' snobbish behavior, and she adored Bella. Jason, she said, voice urgent, I need to tell you something. Your parents are going around telling everyone that you pushed them away. That you've been distant and ungrateful. I laughed. I expected as much. Well, she continued, Mrs. Danvers overheard them saying you only visit now that you're wealthy. Can you imagine? They're flipping the story. Bella choked on her tea. My parents were rewriting history faster than we could breathe. What should we do? Bella asked. I thought for a moment. Nothing, I said calmly. Not yet. Because sometimes, letting people dig their own graves is the best revenge. But karma didn't wait long. The community event they weren't invited to speak at. My parents were used to being invited to local charity galas. Dad always spoke about philanthropic leadership. Mom always wore the biggest jewels. They were the perfect couple. But this year, they received an email. Thank you for your interest. This year, we have chosen speakers who represent humility and community spirit. Humility. Community spirit. 2 things my parents didn't possess. And word travels fast. Apparently, a few board members had already heard. They skipped their own son's wedding. They disapproved of Bella's background. They were now trying to latch onto my success. The polite rejection was actually a slap in the face. And when image-obsessed people lose image, they fall apart. The confrontation they started at my office. A week after the dinner, I was at work finishing a presentation when my assistant buzzed in. Jason, your parents are here. I froze. Who? Your parents. They're insisting it's important. Bella, who worked remotely but sometimes visited during lunch, stood up. Do you want me to leave? No, I said firmly. Stay. My parents pushed their way into the conference room. Mom's eyes were red. Dad's tie was crooked. Their perfect composure? Gone. Jason, my mother exclaimed. How could you humiliate? I raised a hand. Don't start. Dad stepped forward. Jason, listen, people are talking. You're making us look like terrible parents. I stared at him. You didn't need my help with that. Mom started crying. Why are you doing this to us? I took a slow breath. Doing this? You mean telling the truth? You mean not allowing you to use me anymore? We raised you, she snapped. You raised me to be an accessory, I corrected. To make you look better. To be impressive enough to talk about at luncheons. Not to be loved. Mom flinched. Dad's voice cracked. This isn't fair. Neither was your absence at my wedding. The silence after that sentence was earth-shaking. Before they could recover, I continued. You didn't care about me. You cared about how I made you look. And the moment I made you look good again, you came running back. Dad opened his mouth, but I cut him off. You're not here because you miss your son. You're here because you miss status. They both deflated. Caught. Exposed. Powerless. The final blow, Bella's words. Bella stood. Her voice was soft, but sharp enough to pierce steel. You ignored the happiest moment of his life, she said. And now you want to insert yourselves into his success. My parents looked at her. He owes you nothing, Bella finished. And neither do I. They stared. Speechless. Ashamed. Cornered by truth. And then I said the words that ended everything. You didn't show up for us when it mattered. Now we won't show up for you. My mother burst into tears. Dad hung his head. They walked out slowly. The same way people walk away from a funeral. Because they weren't mourning us. They were mourning the loss of control. Before we continue, make sure you're subscribed. Now they try to fight back, and fail. The moment they realized I wasn't coming back. When you stop feeding someone your energy, they start starving for the attention they once took for granted. Before we begin, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the explosive finale in part 6. After the office showdown. When my parents walked out of my office, the door closing behind them felt like a chapter sealing shut. Bella and I sat in silence for a moment. She finally whispered. They looked broken. I nodded. They're not broken because they lost me, I said. They're broken because they lost the ability to control me. Bella sighed. You did the right thing. I knew I did. But that didn't mean the drama was over. Parents like mine don't accept consequences, they try to rewrite them. And they were just getting started. The guilt campaign begins. The next week, they ramped up their efforts to manipulate the narrative. Keycap 1 relatives start calling. My aunt called first. Jason, your mom says you screamed at her in your office. Is that true? I blinked. I didn't raise my voice once. Another cousin called. Your dad said you cut them off for no reason. No reason. Ignoring my wedding wasn't a reason. Treating Bella like trash wasn't a reason. Abandoning me for years wasn't a reason. The lies grew. And my patience shrank. The gossip at church. My parents' church has always been their main bragging arena. They strutted through those doors every Sunday like royalty. But that week? Oh, the story flipped. A friend who still attended messaged me. Your parents told the congregation you turned selfish and forgot where you came from. They're acting like victims. Victims. Of what? Their own behavior? Bella paced around our living room while reading that message. This is unbelievable, she muttered. They treat you like dirt for years, and suddenly you're the problem? I smirked. Let them talk. The truth always reveals itself. And it did. Sooner than we expected. The business community starts to notice. My father had always boasted about his son the entrepreneur. He would exaggerate my achievements to make himself look more accomplished. But now? His bragging rights evaporated. At a networking luncheon, a business associate I knew approached me later and said, I heard your parents are really struggling. They told the group you abandoned them after becoming rich. I chuckled. Did they also tell you they didn't attend my wedding? He choked on his drink. Wait, they didn't? Nope. And now they want access to your business? Exactly. He stared for a moment. Then shook his head. Jason, your parents aren't dealing with abandonment. They're dealing with consequences. Word spread fast. People who once idolized my parents began to question them. Their spotless image? Now stained. Their reputation? In free fall. Their lies? Falling apart. The malicious invitation. 2 weeks later, I received a formal-looking letter. Handwritten. Embellished. From my mother. The inside read: We would like to host a family gathering to clear the air. We expect you and Bella to attend. Please do not embarrass us by refusing. Expect? Bella read it over my shoulder and laughed bitterly. They still think they can command you. She wasn't wrong. My parents didn't understand the difference between an invitation and a summons. I threw the letter in the trash. That night, my father texted. Son, don't create unnecessary drama. Unnecessary drama. Skipping your child's wedding wasn't drama. Dragging my wife through emotional hell wasn't drama. Trying to claw into my business wasn't drama. I didn't answer. Which only triggered the pity parade. Next morning. Another message from Mom. I haven't slept in days. The neighbors are talking. Everyone thinks you're being cruel. Bella scoffed. The neighbors matter more than we do. As usual. Then came a second message. Jason, you're punishing us. This isn't right. Punishing them? No. I was just refusing to reward their behavior. But narcissistic parents see boundaries as punishment. My silence was their torment. So they escalated. The unannounced visit. 3 days later, I walked into work and froze. My parents were sitting in the lobby. My mother stood up the second she saw me. Jason, talk to us, she pleaded, gripping my sleeve. Dad's expression was harsher. You're being unreasonable. This is childish. Childish. I stepped back. Do not show up at my job again. Mom's eyes widened with hurt. Performative hurt. We didn't raise you to be disrespectful. I stared at her. You didn't raise me at all. You managed me. Dad's voice tightened. You owe us. That set me off. I owe you nothing, I snapped. You skipped the biggest day of my life because my wife wasn't wealthy enough for your taste. Mom's composure shattered. We were humiliated, she cried. Her family looked normal? I asked. Decent? Honest? Everything you're not? Dad stepped forward, angry now. How dare you talk to us like this? We built you. No, I said calmly. You built a version of me to impress people. I built myself. The crowd that gathered. People in the lobby were staring. Employees. Clients. Security. My parents hated public conflict. It damaged their image. And right now? Their image was collapsing in front of witnesses. But I was done protecting their reputation. They never protected mine. The final breaking point. My mother's voice cracked. Jason, please. We're losing you. You lost me the moment you didn't show up, I replied. My father tried again, voice trembling now. Can't we just start over? You don't get to pick me up again because I became successful. Mom swallowed hard. So this is it? This is it, I said. Until you acknowledge what you did. Dad exhaled shakily. And if we don't? Then you live with the consequences. They stared at me. Gutted. Speechless. Terrified. Because for the first time ever, they couldn't manipulate their way out. I turned around and walked away. They didn't follow. They couldn't. They had finally hit the wall they built themselves. Before we go to the grand finale, make sure you're subscribed. Here everything comes full circle, and they see the Porsche one last time. The day they saw what they threw away. People who abandoned you in your hardest moments will always show up when success knocks. The real power is ignoring the knock. Before we begin, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss these revenge stories. The calm before the final storm. After the confrontation in my office, Bella and I expected my parents to back off. We thought they'd accept the truth. We thought they'd finally sit with their consequences. But people like my parents don't sit with anything. They fight. They scheme. They perform. And most of all, they panic when they realize their control is gone. 2 days later, the final showdown began. The emergency family meeting I didn't attend. My aunt, my father's sister, called me first thing in the morning. Jason, your parents called a family meeting. They want to discuss your behavior. I laughed. My behavior? Yes, she sighed. They told everyone you're being ungrateful. They made it seem like you randomly cut them off without reason. Bella stood behind me, arms crossed, unimpressed. What did you say to them? I asked. My aunt hesitated. I told them the truth, that they abandoned you first. That they hurt Bella. That they're only trying now because of your success. My chest loosened with gratitude. Thank you. She continued. Jason, you should know. They're embarrassed. People are questioning them. Their story isn't working. Good. They wanted to manipulate the narrative, but the cracks were showing. Yes, I said calmly, let them explain why they skipped my wedding. My aunt sighed again. They won't. They're dancing around it. Of course they were. Accepting responsibility would shatter their delusions. The message they dreaded. That afternoon, I posted something on my private social media. Not a rant. Not a dramatic speech. Just 3 sentences. You cannot abandon your child and expect to return when success arrives. Family is about presence, not convenience. I no longer accept conditional love. The post didn't mention names. It wasn't directed at anyone explicitly. But everyone knew. It spread through the community like wildfire. Old friends messaged me. Good for you, man. You deserved better. I always wondered why they treated you that way. My mother also saw it. And that's when everything escalated. The last-ditch apology attempt. That evening, Bella and I were having dinner when someone knocked on the door. 3 sharp knocks. Bella stiffened. Don't tell me. I opened the door. It was my parents. Both standing there. Eyes swollen. Clothes messy. Breathing heavy. They looked like people whose world was collapsing. Because in their world, image was everything. And their image had been shattered. Jason, my mother whispered, please, can we talk? I stepped aside but didn't invite them in. Talk here, I said. Dad swallowed hard. Son, we're sorry. I raised an eyebrow. For what? My mother looked confused. For everything, she stammered. List it, I said. What? She whispered. List what you're apologizing for. She blinked. Panicked. Unprepared. Well, we should have been more supportive. I didn't respond. Dad tried next. And, we should have handled your wedding differently. Handled? I repeated. You mean attended? He went silent. Bella's hand found mine. My mother wiped tears. We made mistakes, she said shakily. But we're your parents. We want to fix this. I crossed my arms. No, I said softly, you want to fix your reputation. Mom froze. Dad's jaw clenched. You want me because of the Porsche? Because of the money? Because I became someone you can brag about again? Dad stepped forward. That's not true. Oh really? I asked. Where were you when I was broke? When Bella and I were eating ramen? Where were you when her mom needed surgery? Where were you when I worked 3 jobs? They said nothing. Because the truth was loud. The moment their masks fell for good. I continued. You didn't miss my wedding because of scheduling. You missed it because Bella wasn't rich enough. Mom winced. Dad opened his mouth. I stopped him. Save it. You made your choices. Bella's voice was quiet but firm. You hurt us. You didn't just skip our wedding. You made us feel like we weren't worth your time. You didn't even call. My mother burst into tears again. I don't want to lose you. I inhaled. You already did. Dad stepped closer, voice cracking. Jason, please. We don't have anyone else. There it was. Not love. Desperation. Ownership. Loss of control. My silence had starved them of the attention they needed to fuel their image. And now, they were crumbling. The final break. Jason, son, can we please come inside? No. My mother gasped. What? Why not? Because this home wasn't built with you in it, I said. This marriage wasn't supported by you. These successes weren't earned with you. Bella squeezed my hand. Mom whispered. What can we do? Tell us. We will do anything. I shook my head. You can apologize. You can reflect. You can grow. But you can't come back. Dad's face fell like a man watching the last bridge burn. So that's it, he whispered. No, I said. This is it. I opened the door slightly wider, not to welcome them, but to end the conversation. Goodbye. My mother broke down. Dad looked like he aged 10 years in 3 seconds. They turned and walked down the driveway. And then, they saw it. The Porsche. Shining under the streetlight. Clean. Perfect. A symbol of everything I built without them. My mother choked on a sob. My father whispered under his breath. That should have been ours. But it never was. And it never will be. They stood there staring at the car as if staring at the life they could have been part of. The life they threw away. I stepped behind them and said quietly. Remember this moment. Not because of the car. But because this is the day you realized I didn't need you. Not then, not now, not ever. They looked at me with regret so deep it nearly drowned them. Then they walked away. Slow. Broken. Defeated. The true ending. That night, Bella and I sat on the hood of the Porsche, watching the stars. She leaned her head on my shoulder. You okay? She asked softly. I nodded. I feel free. She smiled. They'll come back again, she murmured. Maybe, I said. But they'll never have access to my life again. We looked at the house. Warm, peaceful, filled with love we created ourselves. I glanced at Bella. You know something? I whispered. What? They weren't wrong about one thing. She raised an eyebrow. I did marry someone far above my level. Bella blushed and kissed my cheek. And that night, for the first time in years, I slept without the weight of their expectations on my shoulders. Because closure didn't come from forgiveness. It came from freedom.